Hi guys, welcome back to my channel as told by Muriel. On today, I'm going to bring you, it's not really a story time, but it's like a story time. I am going to tell you about the time I turned down a federal job. Some of you know, in our community, in the Black community, growing up, the jobs to have, which were like, if you had these jobs, you made it. Growing up was for you to have a job in a plant, the local plant where you work, or just any plant in the industrial area in our town or whatever. People who had those jobs, we would see them as, oh, they made it, they set for life or whatever. Those are normally the people who have the the 3-bedroom brick home in the middle class part of town or whatever. Their kids that dress pretty decent. You never see their kids lacking or whatever. And another staple in the Black community was for someone to have a government job, which is like, a state job or a federal job. So as I got older, I used to hear all about, I used to hear like, oh, you should get a job, even because I've been an LPN since I was 22. And people used to always tell me, oh, you should get a job with the state, girl. You should get a job with the state, or, go into prison and get a job, which that wouldn't be for me, or anyway. But they, people used to be like, girl, you should get a job with the state, this, that, and the third, or whatever. And as an LPN, I did have a job for short term in the hospital for, I think it was about a year I worked at the hospital. But since then, I've been pretty much in private long-term care facilities. So when I got my RN in February of 2019, when I actually took my NCLEX and got my RN, at that time I was already 41, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had been in long-term care just about my whole LPN career, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I kind of didn't want to go to the hospital, but then I wanted to go to the hospital. I was just all over the place. I wasn't one of those nursing students who was like, oh, when I finish, girl, I'm going to go try to get a job in the ER or the ICU. Or I knew that I didn't want that. I didn't want labor and delivery. Like, even on my clinical rotations, I gave up those rotations. My clinical instructor, she set it up to where it would be like 2 of us or 4 of us would go off to different units every day, because she wanted us to get a feel of what it would be like in the ER, what it would be like in labor and delivery, what it would be like going to the cath lab, cardiac heart cath lab, what it would be like. No, I had to do labor and delivery. I had to do that. What it would be like in the NICU. That was the other rotation. And I already knew I didn't want to do the NICU. I'm too soft to see a sick baby. I knew that was not something I want to do. So, the younger girls in my clinical, they were like, oh, can I take, I was like, you can just give my NICU clinical to someone else and, just put me on our regular floor. And so, the younger girls, they were like, oh, I want to go. Can I have her clinical? And then the ER, I definitely knew I did not want to do ER. And, they were happy to take that clinical too. So, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but so once you get your RN, or if you're already an RN, or, and you can attest to this, if you look for jobs for RNs, y'all, when I got my RN, even before I got my RN, I was looking at RN jobs, but it is like the world is your oyster. I'm in a compact state, so there are 20, I think there's now 26 states we can work in, because Georgia was added. There are 25 other states that I can work in with my license. And so it's just a plethora of jobs for RN. I just kept scrolling on Indeed. RN needed, RN needed, RN needed, RN needed. There were some who asked for you to have a bachelor's degree. Mind you, I graduated from an associate degree program, but there were some who asked you for a bachelor's degree. There were a percentage that said bachelor preferred, but that doesn't mean they won't take an associate degree nurse. So I was overwhelmed because I had been in long-term care all this time. I kind of was already in the mind frame that I wanted to get away from long-term care because I felt like I was burnt out in it, but I didn't want to go in the hospital. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was a part of a group, it was a study group. And we still kept our chat going on even after the study group ended. And so one of the girls in the study group, she sent a text to all of us and said that the Veterans Hospital, or whatever it's called, the VA, was having open a job fair. And it was sometime towards the end of February, I think, or end of February. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, let me go attend this, because I had been hearing for years that it is so hard to get a federal job, and it is so hard to get a federal job. You know, everybody just kept saying how hard it is to get a federal job. So I went, and I was wanting to get hired on for the hospital portion of the VA and work like on a medical surgical floor, because I had made the decision that the hospital is where I probably need to go. Up until that time, I had started just working with the local agency, getting shifts here or there, trying out different places. I went to a few hospice homes, didn't like that. Still was doing long-term care, never tried home health, but I knew that I needed to try to find something full-time. So anyway, I went to the job fair, had my resumes in tow, had on some black slacks. I know it was a little dressy top or something, some low-cut boots or whatever. I don't normally wear a lot of makeup, but I don't remember how my hair was, none of that. But anyway, so we went in the job fair. I sat down. The application was like a book. They was asking, it seemed like the questions they wanted, it was like a book, and they were asking so many questions, like, do you have any debts that you owe to what blah blah blah, you know. And I knew that you couldn't really omit anything on this, because I knew for a federal job the background check was really going to be extensive. So I was trying to think, like, what student loans do I have, criminal background, you know, I do have some misdemeanors on my background, so I put that on there. You know, so I'm sitting there doing the application or whatever, and then I turn it in, and so I got called back for an interview. And so when I went back there to do the interview, you know, I'm all excited because I wanted to go work in, you know, the hospital parts. Before I went back for the interview, someone had looked at my application or whatever, and they asked me would I be interested in interviewing for they have like a long-term care unit in the VA. And so yeah, I kind of wasn't, but then I was like, these VA jobs are so sought after, just let me go ahead and, you know, do the interview. And so I told the lady, yeah, I would be interested or whatever. So anyway, I went to the back. They called me for the interview. It was two ladies interviewing me. I don't know what position they held, but I know they worked on that unit. They were in some supervisory position. And then they wanted to ask me some questions. I've never researched how an interview is done for a federal position. So the questions they were asking me, it wasn't what I was used to. And getting questions for interviews. I can't even remember what the questions were, but I know they were kind of like, have you ever encountered this during your time of employment? What did you do? Have you ever encountered like any disgruntled family members or a patient who refused care, or you walked in, what would you do if you walk in? Or, you know, it was just patient related questions or whatever. And so I don't know why. I think the more they were asking me questions, I was getting real discouraged about the interview. And you know, so I don't even remember my answer. I wasn't even really interested anymore. As the process went on, the interview process went on, and they were asking me these questions, I would just started feeling like I was bothered. And I guess that's because I really wasn't excited about the job, because I kind of didn't really want to do long-term care. So I answered the questions, and then they asked me, did I have any questions I want to ask them? And I really didn't, because I really, at that point, I didn't even really want the job anymore. But I'm not going to tell them that I don't want the job, I kind of didn't want the job, and then I kind of did, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, everybody says the federal job is a good job to have, blah, 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 whatever. So, and the questions I asked them basically were about scheduling, really. And so one thing that really turned me off, y'all, is not only, well, I don't mind 12-hour shifts. I don't mind doing 3 12-hour shifts. That's full. Then it was required that you do an 8-hour shift too. And I was like, huh? I'm doing 3 12s and you're going to require 8? I said, so it's 44 hours a week mandatory? And they were like, yeah, but you know, I can basically make my schedule of when I'm going to work the hours. And y'all, I was already like, you good with them 3 12s, but I don't know who coming for that 8. I don't know who coming for that 8 hour. And I don't even know why my mind was like that, because later on, I ended up going to work in a hospital, and I would do 4 12-hour shifts a week. I was totally against that 8-hour shift. So anyway, I went back out to the little sitting area, and then I was talking to this lady, and because they didn't want me to leave or whatever, or I don't know why I went and said name. And I ended up talking to this lady that was sitting in there, and she told me she had been to 6 job fairs for the VA. And this was her first time. This is the first time that they showed any type of interest. And I was like, 6? Y'all, I get disgruntled if I get turned down for something once. I don't try again. So then I started feeling guilty, because I was like, dang, this lady been trying. It wasn't in the nursing department, but 6 times. So anyway, I was given the news that they were interested and they would like to hire me on to work on the, you know, I don't know what it was, a CCL, CSL, some type of unit, which is basically long-term care. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, that's basically, I was like, oh, okay. So they was like, they didn't want me to leave. I needed to stay and speak with someone who, I don't know if she's in HR or what she does, and I need to get fingerprinted and all that. So anyway, I went and I spoke to the lady, and she was, you know, now I'm getting to the money, because I'm like, okay, well, how much are they paying? She almost, it was like, if I can remember correctly, she was like, there's like level 1, 2, 3, but then in level 1 there are 3 steps, and level 2 there are 3 steps, and level 3 there are 3 steps. So you get the level 1A, then B, then C, then you get to level 3. And so I was basically at, like, I think I was at level 1 because I was an RN with an associate's degree. And level 2 would be an RN with a bachelor's degree, and the pay would be more for an RN with a bachelor's degree and no experience than it would be for an RN with an associate's degree. I basically asked her, like, what if I come in as like level 1, an RN with an associate's degree, no experience, but in the meantime, within like a year, I obtain my bachelor's degree. Do my pay automatically go from level 1 to level 2 just because I got bachelor's degree? And she was like, no, you still have to go through the 1A, 1B, 1C. And so I was like, oh, okay, you know, all right. And then she was like, so what I'm going to tell you is not to quit the job you're working. Don't give a notice or anything. To be fair, she told me that the process takes some time. So don't go putting a notice in, you know, expecting that. Start working with them in like the next 3 weeks or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I you know, I've been told that it's a long process or whatever. I'm thinking like 6 weeks. So I went ahead and I got fingerprinted that day. And so I left and I called one of my classmates, and I was, you know, telling her what they were saying about the pay. And when she was telling me like what the pay would be, I was like, I think it was like $60,000 a year or something, because she didn't work there, but she had some friends who used to work there, and she was like, the pay is gonna be like $60,000 a year. I think she was like $60,000 or $50,000 a year. And y'all, I know when I did the numbers for what I was already making just working agency, it was coming out to like probably about like $70,000 a year. And so I was like, you know, it wasn't a whole big, that's $10,000. You know, she was like, she had a friend who worked there and he left there and went wherever he went, I don't know. So, okay, in the meantime, I'm still doing the agency or whatever. March comes, they call me in for, I think they had to draw blood to, you know, do the drug test and all that. No, they called me to, I think they got a urine sample and they drew blood. And the second time they called me, which was like the beginning, like the second week of March. Then they called me again, like the first week of April, to come do the health screening. Now, mind you, And this time I'm already reconsidering. I'm like, I don't know, you know, I'm still doing agency, hadn't taken a full-time job anywhere, still working agency or whatever, and so I called, I ended up calling one of my classmates, that I graduated with, or she was in class with us, and she was like, girl, you young, which I'm not young. I was 40 at the time, 41. She was like, you go make your money. Go and make your money first. Worry about the VA later. She was like, you can always come back to the VA, which is not necessarily true because they say it's so hard to get hired. But I got hired my first time ever trying, so. She was like, you can always do that later, go back later, get your benefits, get your 10 years then or whatever. Because I think in 10 years, I think that's when, after 10 years, you start receiving retirement or something once you get retirement age from having a federal job, I think. I don't know. It's something about 10 years. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like being vested or something. Something about 10 years. I still don't know. If you know, you drop down in the comments and tell me. But anyway, long story short, I changed my mind. And so when they called me back again to do something, I told them I was no longer interested. And that was 2 years ago, and I'm not interested. And I do have medical surgical experience. And y'all, I ended up going right back into long-term care. I've been back in long-term care now. I actually never left because even when I went to, got a job at the hospital working on medical surgical floor, I still would pick up PRN at the long-term care facility. So, but now I left the hospital and I'm like just doing long-term care, short contract travel assignments. And yeah, so that might have been stupid of me. I don't know. I didn't take the job. And but my plan is within the next maybe 5 years, because as you know, I'm in school to receive my bachelor's degree now. I should be, if I continue taking the 2 courses every 8 weeks and stay on that track, I should be finishing November, I think, or December this year, as long as I pass. I'll be finished this year, and I have my bachelor's degree. Probably not next year, probably not 2022, but maybe 2023. If my life, Lord spares my life, I'll probably try for the VA again, because at that time I will be 45, and not that I plan to work until retirement, but to be honest, most people end up working till retirement age. If I go in at 45, if at 55, I'll have my 10 years in, and I should, my house will be paid off by then, even though, yeah, my house should be paid off by then. I shouldn't have any excess bills. I'm hoping by 55, if I'm not able to quit work altogether, I'll at least be able to only work 2 days a week. And kind of relax, so yeah, so I'll have the 10 years in, hopefully, in the federal government by the age of 55, and I'll have, my house paid off. That's a major bill. So then I'll be able to work, and then my children will be already done with college. And like I said, I might, tell one, okay, you got to pay your mama light bill. I'm whispering, they don't know, but I might tell one, you got your mama light bill. I done put you through college, so go ahead and pay your mama light bill. And I might tell the other one, hey, pay my taxes on my house, every year. That's all you got to do for mama. I ain't asking you to do nothing else. And so I can work 2 days a week. And, yeah. So that's my plan as of for now. That's what I'm thinking I may do. Anyway, yeah, so hopefully, by 55, if everything pans out, if I stick to my goals, yeah, I should have my 10 years in at the VA if they hire me on just as quickly as before. I'm not even opposed to working in their long-term care unit if they decide to, offer me the employment again, because I'm just not opposed to it. Yeah, guys, that's my story time about how I turned down a federal job. And I'm gonna come back to you with another video because I've been having so many thoughts, things on my mind. So I'm gonna come back to with another video and talk to you guys about how I am doing in school. Talk to you later. Bye.